So one of the most striking points that I wanted to raise since the October 7th massacre and the subsequent war against Hamas is that this isn't clearly not just an issue of Hamas itself, but the widespread support that exists among Arabs in Gaza and Judea and Samaria, or the West Bank, as some refer to it. The widespread support they have for Hamas and what Hamas did on October 7th. According to one of the most prominent surveys done in the Palestinian territories, the Palestinian Center for Policy and Survey Research, they kept doing reports to see what percentage of the population supported what Hamas did on October 7th. And there was a majority, 70 to 80% in Gaza and Judea and Samaria, the West Bank. Now, I've referred to that, and even months, even a year or so later after October 7th, the polls they kept doing showed that there was consistent levels of support. It started to go down a little bit as it became clear that the fruits of October 7th were not manifesting the way they intended it to, with Israel fighting back and defeating Hezbollah and Iran, etc. So I expected that maybe it will continue to drop now, not because they suddenly love Israel, but because they're realizing what's going on. But there's been a new poll that's come out, done by the same survey, Palestinian Center for Polling. And here's a shocking bit of information they found from polling that was just done recently. Do you support or oppose the disarmament of Hamas in the Gaza Strip in order to stop the war on Gaza? 77% in total opposed it. In the West Bank, 85% opposed it, and in the Gaza Strip, 64% opposed it. As Hillel Fuld said, most Palestinians do not want the war to end. They don't support Hamas. Most Palestinians support Hamas and don't want them removed from power. These are the innocent people the world loves to talk about. Now, this is essential to making any judgment you want to about what's happening in the Middle East right now. There's also some important other facts that were discovered here. 50% of Palestinians surveyed in the West Bank and Gaza Strip believe Hamas's decision to launch the October 7th attack was correct. 59% in the West Bank, 38% in the Gaza Strip. That's the latest poll. So it shows that there's been some level of decline. But supporting armed resistance, it still seems to be maintained. There's also something else which I found particularly disturbing, which is that overall 87% now deny that the Hamas atrocities occurred. So they go from celebrating it as resistance, and then when they start to see that they're not doing so well, they start to deny it. It's unbelievable. Now, this is so important because the myth that the world likes to indulge in is that Hamas doesn't represent Palestinianism and the Palestinian cause. Unfortunately, it does. So this is a post from Ed Davey, who's a prominent British liberal politician. Before we continue with the video, I wanted to quickly share with you something really close to my heart. You know, after October 7th, like so many of you, I kept asking myself, what can we do that actually helps? Because right now, there's a mental health crisis happening in Israel. Soldiers are coming home with trauma and life-changing injuries. Families are grieving. Thousands have been displaced. And behind all the headlines are people, real people, who are exhausted, anxious, and emotionally shattered. That's why I want to tell you about Beit Binyamin, a place in the holy city of Sfat in Israel that offers real healing to Israel's heroes. IDF soldiers, bereaved families, wives of soldiers, those driven from their homes, anyone carrying the invisible scars of war. It was founded by two parents, Jen and Rob, in memory of their son Binyamin, a hero who fell in battle in the Gaza war shortly after October 7th. And after losing him, they didn't retreat. They created a sanctuary, Beit Binyamin, which means the house of Benjamin, named after their late son. And here's the amazing part. You don't need to give thousands to make a real difference. For $200, you can give a soldier a full day of peace, real rest, spa treatments, good meals, and a quiet space to finally exhale. For $300, you can sponsor a retreat for someone recovering from deep trauma, or give a lone soldier, someone far from home, the gift of connection and care. Beit Binyamin provides housing, therapy, emotional support, and a warm, healing environment where those who've given everything for Israel can begin to feel whole again. At a time when so many are silently battling PTSD, anxiety, and grief, this isn't just a luxury, it's a lifeline. It's a way to say, we see you, we're with you, you're not alone. If you want to donate to Beit Binyamin, click on the link in the video description and let's be part of their healing. And he said now the Hamas terrorists behind the October 7th atrocities are trying to erode support for the recognition of a Palestinian state by falsely claiming it would be a victory for them. By the way, that is what Hamas have said. They said, look, we've got these Western nations now calling for support to recognize Palestine. Clearly, this is a victory of October 7th. Everyone was saying you're going to reward the terrorists by saying this, reward Hamas for October 7th, and now it looks like they did. But now he says, no, Hamas, don't represent the Palestinian people. They have no future in Gaza with a two-state solution. As Michael Dixon wrote, falsely claiming it would be a victory, of course it would. You would reward those very terrorists who burn families alive and mass raped, murdered, and kidnapped. You are either naive or willfully blind to the jihadi state you would like to create. Thankfully, you have no say. As was posted by another account, an uncomfortable truth for you, Ed. Hamas do represent the Palestinian people in Gaza. If they don't represent Palestinians in Gaza, who was the government on October 7th? If they don't represent Palestinians in Gaza, are they an illegal occupying power or military coup? If they don't represent Palestinians in Gaza, why should Israel negotiate a ceasefire with these non-representatives? If they don't represent Palestinians in Gaza, why do politicians like you and our media legitimize their Ministry of Health and give voice to their other government institutions? If they don't represent Palestinians in Gaza, who does? You can't just rewrite history now with these beige statements and simply expect everyone to forget. Like it or not, Hamas' key role since 2007 has been representing Palestinians in Gaza. Well, I'm afraid to say it's even worse than that. They represent the very essence of the Palestinian cause, which has no interest whatsoever in self-determination. Its only interest is religious, in destroying the Jews, in Islamist domination of the region. And there's so much proof to show that this is the case. We have the polling to show this right now. That's number one. I can guarantee you, if the Jewish people, if the Jewish state was controlled by extremists, an equivalent extremist, God forbid, like Hamas, the polling that would be done there, it would be private, confidential polling, would show the Jewish people dramatically hostile and opposing some kind of jihadi equivalent government. So that's point number one. Point number two is that when Palestinians do have control over territory, when the Arabs do have control over territory, what do they choose? They don't choose self-determination, they choose killing the Jews. There was a Palestinian state in Gaza from 2005. Look what they chose. When Jordan and Egypt occupied Gaza and Judea and Samaria from 48 to 67, they didn't call for a Palestinian state, they didn't create one. The Arabs there didn't cry to the Egyptians and Jordanians about wanting statehood. And the Jordanians and Egyptians didn't try to create one. All they were interested in was destroying Israel. And had they won in 1967 or 48, the Arabs, had they won and destroyed Israel, God forbid, there wouldn't be a Palestinian state. They'd all have a bit of a chunk of the land, which shows it's not about Palestinian statehood. But the biggest piece of the puzzle that shows what this is really about, it's about age-old anti-Semitism, not about anything Israel's done, is that the anti-Semitism, the Nazi-like anti-Semitism, existed prior to Israel's re-establishment. Not just years prior, for decades, centuries prior. You need to understand this fact. That's why we created a new documentary on JTV Plus called Arab Anti-Semitism Before Israel's Re-Establishment. To understand it, this critical fact, which totally turns everything on its head from claiming Israel is the cause of the issue, as opposed to Arab rejection and anti-Semitism is the cause. You need to know this fact. Have a watch of our trailer, and if you want to watch the full documentary on JTV Plus, you can click on the link in the video description. Picture yourself. It's 1834, and you're a Jew living in Sfat, which is a northern city in Israel, then under the Ottoman Empire. Your family is part of this ancient city's spiritual heart for generations. You study Torah, you trade in the market, and live quietly among your Arab neighbors. But one day, a mob storms your street, shouting, "Kill the Jews!" Your home is looted, your synagogue burned, your loved ones beaten. This isn't about Israel, Israel won't exist for 114 years. This isn't about settlements, the IDF, or the 1948 displacements. This is raw, violent hatred aimed at you for being a Jew. And it's not just in Palestine, it's part of a centuries-old story of anti-Semitism woven into Arab and Islamic history, from the dawn of Islam to the streets of Hebron. The claim that this conflict began with Israel's creation, the Nakba, or modern policies, is a farce, a distortion that collapses under history's magnifying glass. Welcome to JTV Plus. I'm Ollie Annersfeld, and today we're uncovering a history too often buried, the relentless anti-Semitism among Arabs in Palestine before 1948, rooted in a broader Arab and Muslim hostility that began with Islam's inception in the 7th century. To watch this JTV Plus documentary and access much more premium content, click on the link in the video description.